A bit of breaking news. Russian exit polls show that Vladimir Putin wins the presidential election with 87.8% of the vote. Well, I tell you what, you don't need to have been a psychic to see that coming, which leads me very nicely into our next segment, as I often have. It's a segment called I Believe. And today it's I believe, how does communicating with spirits actually work? Who better to talk to us about that than George the medium? He's a spiritual medium. His website says he's read for thousands of people over the years. He's been quoted as the real deal. He's got 22 years plus of experience working with the spirit world, known for a connection that provides you with factual details about your loved ones, leaving you with healing and comfort. George the medium joins me now. George, thank you so much for your time. So let's start with, how does communicating with spirits, how does it actually work? What do you do?
So the misconception is that we receive things from the spirit world in a psychic way. So really, psychic information is reading you. So health, wealth, love life, marriage and career is all to do with you and that psychic work. When we work with the spirit world, though, the mediumship side of things is that spiritual communication, where what happens is they drop their thoughts and memories into the medium's mind, which then becomes a kind of a vision in what we call the clairvoyance. So the old school term of the clairvoyant vision, where the clairvoyant medium would see the information like a TV screen. Basically, that's the easiest way to think of it. At that same moment, though, it's backed up with emotions and feelings. So I always say to people, if you think of a happy memory from your childhood, and the way that you think of that memory is kind of the same way that spirit communicate. The thought comes into your mind of the memory, it becomes a picture or a video, and it then has an emotional reaction. The difference is we have consecutive information that comes through from the spirit world. So people who have passed on want to share their memories and their stories and their joy. And really it's a lot more happier than what people seem to think, because they don't want to always talk about when they passed away. They may want to touch on that, but it's such a big life to speak of. So that's kind of the kind of the technicalities and the simplest form for people to understand.
So here's the question: why you? I mean, when did you develop? Did you develop this ability? Did you suddenly realize you had this ability? Why? How?
Yeah, so I'm kind of different, because most people kind of remember and have gift as a child and things like that. And for me, my great-grandmother passed away when I was 18 and I lived on my own, and 4 weeks to the day, I had this feeling of someone standing from my bed, and there she was. And I'm quite scientific, because I'm kind of like, let's look at the natural thing before we look at the supernatural. So I got out of bed at 3, 4 in the morning and walked towards her, and she disappeared. I've never seen spirit so clear as that ever in my life from that moment. So then I started to have all these weird experiences, and I really thought I was kind of having major issues. Went to the doctor, was referred to psychiatric hospital because I was hearing voices in my mind. And so that was my way of understanding it. And I kind of know that a lot of people have that same struggle. So eventually I built up the courage to tell my mum, and I was like, hey, Mum, I think I'm psychic. And it was the only way I knew to explain it. And she goes, oh, I know. And I was like, what do you mean you know? And she said, oh, as a child, I have a huge family. And so she says, there was always, my birthday, for example, all the kids are running about and I'm in the corner talking to the person that nobody can see. But for me, I could, and I was frustrated with people not knowing that. So my mum said you would want two drinks of juice, 2 packets of crisps, 2 sandwiches for me and the person.
Your friend.
And so, yeah, pretty much. And it was always different kind of people. And one of the most weird ones was my mum and I met a friend of hers in town. I go away to just play. I think I was about 6 years of age. My mum has a conversation with her friend. I come back because we're leaving. And I said to my mum, Mum, that's a shame that lady's dad is in heaven because he had a sore heart. And my mum's friend had just told her, Irene, my dad passed away with a heart attack. So kind of weird things like that. But I remember none of it. Absolutely none of it. And by the age of 9, it left, to my mum's kind of relief, because there was always just weird, spooky things going on. So it was more comforting to finally hear that, but I don't remember it, whereas so many people do. And we kind of say it runs in the family sometimes. My grandfather on my father's side was very spooky, but in his generation, it was not talked about. So,
No. I was going to ask you, do you think we all have psychic ability? It's just that some people, it comes through more, maybe the rest of us, other people suppress it because, yeah, as you say, it's not done to talk about it or even recognize it.
yeah, so I kind of describe it as the way of, in reference of like sound. So I believe we're all psychically aware and we all have psychic abilities. Not everybody's a medium. So every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. So the way to understand it easy is everybody on the earth can make sound. Whether people can speak or not, we're able to make sound. So, but we all don't sound like Whitney, Mariah, and Celine. So I kind of like compare it to that some people are more naturally talented at it, but we have to work and we have to discipline and develop. Like I stopped drinking and I stopped going like partying because I wanted to dedicate my life to this. So yes, I believe we all have psychic senses where you walk into a room and you can feel something, or you get a lot of these signs from the spirit world. And the wonderful thing is when we pass over, our loved ones come to get us, which is a wonderful thing, because then we have these people who are maybe worried, and then all the spirit world are around. And that's probably some of the nicest things that I've ever been able to share, is that people feel maybe they didn't get to be with their loved one, maybe they were rushing to get there and the person passed away. And it's nice to then say, oh, these people were coming through to welcome them over. So and I always look at the joy in it. I don't feel we should live in the misery or the sadness, and we should touch on maybe some serious parts, but people want to hear their joy. Like they had wonderful lives and they want to share that. And they describe themselves in the way they want to be seen. That's probably what I feel is more important, because people think of people when they pass away, maybe they're elderly and they're losing their hair or they're lost their sight, and they come through looking 23, with beautiful hair. And
so to finish up, George, do people have to see the person face to face to contact their loved ones? Is it about their physical presence that allows the spirit to come, or can you literally be on the phone or video conference or something like that?
Yeah, so being in the person's presence, for me specifically, I don't look at my clients when I'm reading for them, because I face the wall, because I don't want them to think I'm reading their body language, which a lot of fakes do. They'll ask suggestive questions. With mediumship, we should not be asking questions. We should be providing the evidence, and they should only respond with yes, no, I don't know, so that we're not then being fed the information. But for me privately, I face the wall just so I'm not looking at them. Video is good for reaching people around the world. I just sometimes feel for the person more than anything, there's something missing. So they don't get the same kind of feeling as being in the room. I don't get me wrong, I've done online readings, but I always feel from the client's point of view, they feel like there's maybe, you can't feel that energy in the room as much as when you're here over a video camera. But it does work.
So if people want to get in contact with you, as I looked at your website, just Google George the Medium. George, thank you so much for your time.